Today I want to tackle a very important subject that is discussed in the media all the time. There is so much hoo-ha through the Brexit and I mean, you pick up a newspaper and there is something about immigration in there. I want to give you 5 easy ways of how we can address immigration issues. So this video is going to be in 2 parts. The part 1, which is this one, is going to be about how immigrants should act and behave in the host country. And then there'll be another video in a week's time that will be published, which will talk about how the people from the host country should behave. So before you get your knickers in a twist, as we call it in English, be patient, wait and watch the second video. What I'll do is I will start off by telling you a little story, and then I will tell you 5 ways of how you can solve immigration problems. There's a storm outside. You live in a house with 3 children, a wife, and you have a big house with enough space and guest rooms. It's a very heavy snowstorm outside and blistering winds, and you know the deal. Imagine a movie with a storm outside. You look out of the window to check how much snow is building up, and you see a homeless person outside hiding under a tree or something, and you know that that person is going to suffer. You go and you invite that person and say, come in, when the storm passes you can leave. And you say, you're welcome in my house, here's a guest room, you can stay here. You treat them like you treat a guest, and you're nice to them. So now imagine if that person steals something from your house, and what would be your reaction? I'm not going to tell you what your reaction should be. It's up to you to decide. That person intentionally breaks something in your house, or that person spits in your house, or smokes when you don't smoke in the house and throws cigarette butts. There's a storm outside. This is a complete stranger who you've brought into your home, into your sanctuary. How would you react? Take it another step further. Now this person steals your money, and you know that they've stolen your money. What would you do? That person beats up your children. What would you do? Now let's take it a bit further. That person rapes your child, daughter or son, doesn't matter. What would you do? That person stabs your wife and kills her. What would you do? So these are the kind of things you need to think about and consider as how human beings react and think when an external force or an external person invades their space and does something wrong. Now think of the same thing if one of your children steals your money, or breaks things in the house, or spits and makes a mess, or smokes and throws cigarette butts. How would you react? Think of the differences between your reaction to a stranger and to your own children. So when people turn around and say, well, the natives do this as well, those are the children of this society. The reaction is always different to a stranger. And this is for you to think about yourself. I'm not telling you how it should be. Let your conscience be your guide. So United Kingdom is one of those countries that is very welcoming to all foreigners and immigrants from all around the world, which is one of the reasons why people come here. It's very easy to integrate and assimilate in the society if you want to. It's also very easy to create your own communities and live there, never have to see anyone from the local population. That's also possible. But I'll come to that in my next video, because this video is about how immigrants should behave when they go to their host country. Point number 1. Everyone has a choice of where they go, which country they choose. If you choose a country that doesn't match your cultural values, your religion, and any other traditions or values that you may have, then you're going to have problems. So don't choose a country based on financial reasons, because you are going to create a lot of issues for yourself and others. Choose a country that is more in line with your values and your religion and traditions, and it will be a better fit. You'll be happy and everyone else will be happy. Point number 2, stop comparing your host country with your motherland. It really irritates and annoys the indigenous population and the natives, because if you keep saying, back in my country this is great, back in my country everything is great, people question and wonder why you are here. A lot of them won't say it to your face because of the political correctness police in our society, but they will think it. You have chosen to immigrate somewhere, you have chosen to adopt that country as your new home, so stop talking about what you left behind, because obviously if your country back home was so great, you wouldn't have moved. Point number 3, assimilate in the society that you have adopted. And yes, some of the things you might disagree with, but you don't have to do them. You just have to be tolerant and considerate, respect the values and traditions of the place you're in. Now, when you have certain examples of actions that are predominantly done by a specific extraction or race or skin color of people, people in the general population start stereotyping and thinking that everyone of that extraction, that race, that background is the same, which isn't the case, but that's how human psychology works. So when you're driving down the road and you see this person pulling in from a side street into a main road, and they keep edging forward slowly and they block the traffic, and you look at the driver, usually foreign, and then they will smile or have this attitude where, oh, I can do this, I got out. In their heads and in front of the people in the car with them, they feel proud. Look what I've done. I've won. In reality, they've lost, because what they've done is they've lost their image and their credibility to the society they live in. The people, the 5-10 cars that they blocked, the people who saw them doing this, have all subconsciously created an image of these people. And it's ruined it for the others who are actually nice people, law-abiding citizens who are nice to the community, who don't do these things, but that one candidate, one person has damaged it for thousands of people. So be very careful when you do certain things. If you stand out in a crowd, or if you look different in a society, you have extra responsibility, because whatever you do, you're damaging the reputation of all the other people who are different. So in a way, it's not fair, and life isn't fair. So don't go telling me that we should all be living in utopia. Life isn't fair. So yes, there are people who are the indigenous population who will do something and they'll get away with it because they blend in with the crowd. That's life. I mean, physical strength. Some people are stronger, some can run faster, some are more intelligent, some are more beautiful. There's so many differences. Life isn't perfect. But we can make it better by taking small steps in the right direction and create a society and community that's great and comfortable and livable for everyone. It's the same as going back to the point or the story I told earlier about this home that someone has given you refuge in. You need to respect their house rules, because this is how they live. Language barriers, very important. If you go to a country and you don't speak the language, you'll always be an outsider. You'll never feel part of the society. You will never integrate properly. Netherlands is a country that I really admire for this, because they force people to learn Dutch before they will grant them a Dutch citizenship. In England, that's not the case. There's so many people who have come here as part of their sponsorship through their spouses or families and things, who don't speak the language. They just live here forever and they just live in their own community. They don't have to mix with anyone else and speak to anyone else, so they don't really need to. And that creates alienation from both sides. There are cultural differences, obviously, but you need to make friends with the locals. There are so many people I know personally whose parents came and built their little communities here and brought up the children in those communities, and their friends and their social circle, even as adults, is made up of all those people from the same background. It's very important to have friends from all walks of life and all kinds of backgrounds, because it enriches you, it makes you a better person and makes you tolerant, makes you understand the differences and how to overcome them. So focus on the element of bettering your life when you move to a new country rather than financial gains, because if you're just looking at money, you will be unhappy and your children will be unhappy. There's so many areas in the UK which are completely isolated from the rest of the UK because people have come here and built these communities and isolated themselves and their children and generations. What happens in these cases is people who are coming from overseas, let's say they came over to England 50 years ago, they brought a culture from their motherland that existed 50 years ago. Over time, the country back home has moved on. These people haven't been back frequently enough, at least not in the first 5 to 10 years while they were building their community and the money and all that. And when they go back, they go for short visits and they don't realize that the culture back home has moved on. Now, I've experienced this after visiting 3 countries where I saw the local population of those countries making fun of the Brits visiting back home because they thought they were really backward and narrow-minded. And it's because their parents brought the culture and they preserved it and they passed it on to their generations. And subsequently, I've met a family where the parents came to England 40 years ago, maybe more, had kids here, completely different, and then they have grandkids now who are also unfortunately lost. These people are perfect targets for radicalization and terrorism and all these, because those kids are lost. They don't have a sense of belonging. They don't belong in this society and culture because their parents and grandparents have told them this is not your country, not your culture, don't do this, it's bad. When they go back home, they're not accepted in that society either because that society's moved on. So these kids and these people feel lost, and therefore when a fundamentalist or, I don't know, some radical person tells them that they're going to do X, Y, Z and their lives will be better, they go with it. So by isolating your children, you're ruining their lives. You came to another country to better your life and your generations, but you're actually ruining it. I'm not saying that all of these people do it, but there's a vast majority of these kinds of behaviors. I think the focus should be building new communities that are mixed, that have respect and tolerance for each other, that live side by side in harmony. People come to England because we are a very tolerant nation. So take the good out of this. And I keep referring to UK because this is my home and this is my country, and I can only speak for myself and my country and give you examples of what applies here. But these fundamental principles apply to other countries as well. And immigrants going to Australia or, I don't know, America or Germany or France, all of those countries, if you follow these steps, it applies to all of them. So anyway, this video is not about having a go at immigrants. This is about highlighting the facts that need to be addressed. In our current situation and the current environment of political correctness, no one really talks about things. Everything is brushed under the carpet because the political correctness police in our society, made up of our friends and family, don't allow us to talk about it. When you can't discuss serious issues, people bury them, and then they get angry and frustrated with them, and then they take it out in bad ways. So if we discuss them, if we raise them, we can fix them. Thanks for watching. I will make another video which will come out shortly after or soon that will tackle the issue of how the native population receiving these immigrants should behave, because obviously it takes two to tango. It's not just the immigrants, it's also us, the indigenous population, who create the environment, and sometimes allowing people to do things because we think we are giving them freedom is actually bad for them. But if you give people too much power, they make wrong decisions because they have no idea how it could impact them. Anyhow, thanks for watching. If you have anything to say, please create a video. Make a video and respond to my video with a video rather than typing comments, because to be honest, hiding behind a computer and typing things is very easy. If you disagree with something, being anonymous and having a go at someone else who's taking the time and effort to make a video is easy. So, I mean, I'm lucky because I don't get a lot of abuse, but I think in these videos I will get a lot of abuse. But the bottom line is, I can delete your messages, I can block your messages, I can ignore them. But if you make a video, it's on your channel, it's available for the world to see what you have to say about this subject. So do it, I implore you. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.